What's up, everyone? Welcome to Among the Fence, my YouTube channel where I do music reviews. My name is Aaron, and today we're going to be checking out the new album, Welcome to the West Coast 3 by the band Lionheart. And for those of you who don't know who this band is, they are a hardcore beatdown band from Oakland, California. They started around 2004, and then they broke up in 2016, and then they got back together in 2017, and this is their 8th studio album. And I gotta admit, I wasn't really that big of a fan of them when they dropped their debut album, The Will to Survive, in 2007. It just kind of sounded like every other hardcore band, and if I'm going to be completely honest too, it wasn't really my scene. It's not the kind of music I was really into. And I didn't really get into them until they released their 4th album, or I guess their EP, which was the first Welcome to the West Coast. And their songwriting and just their overall sound started to have a lot more of identity to it. It started to sound like Lionheart instead of, like I said, every other hardcore band. And then they dropped their 2nd West Coast album, which was a continuation after their album Love Don't Live Here, which was just kind of okay. And I started to notice that the only things I really liked from them were their West Coast albums. Everything else in between, I could kind of take it or leave it. I just wasn't really feeling the experimentation stuff that they did on it, or just the overall sound. But every time they came out with a West Coast series album, I was totally feeling it. So when I heard they were dropping the 3rd one, I was very much excited. The album opens up with their intro song, which is titled the Trilogy Intro. It's the typical thing that they do for these albums. It's super groovy. It gets you hyped up, and it's got nods to Notorious B.I.G., which I enjoyed quite a bit. And then it goes into the 2nd song, Death Comes in Threes, featuring Jamie Josta, who sounds absolutely fantastic. And the bass and drums really carry the verse with a haunting melody in the background. And a fuller drum passage comes in, giving you the feeling of like this falling into the abyss kind of thing. And the breakdown has the same kind of feel, but it's just a little bit more brutal. And the lyrics in the bridge are fantastic. And then we have the 3rd song, Hell on Earth, which is kind of the whole theme to this entire album. An intro that really gives the song a feeling of like it got like a narrative, like it's a storytelling kind of thing. And then the pre-chorus sounds fantastic. It's very groovy, and it just keeps getting better and better as it goes into the chorus. And the breakdown is just full of chugs and a thick bass line, and it just sounds so different than what we're really used to hearing. Then we have Live by the Gun featuring Ice-T. It's got this slow, clean guitar that evolves into a really sick riff, and the vocal cadence fits the rhythm in this fantastically. The chorus wasn't really that great, but it still worked pretty well. And Ice-T is featured in verse 2, and he sounds good. I just really wish he would have went rogue, I guess you could say. I wish he brought like a quicker rap style to his part, but it still fit. And just when I gave up hope, the breakdown hits where he comes in again, and it's phenomenal. It is so good, and it's basically what I wanted from him when I saw that he was featured in this. And like I said, verse 2, it just gives you a little bit, and you're like, dang, I want some more. Then that breakdown comes in, and he kills it. And it's one of my favorite moments on this entire album. Then we have Cold Water Farewell, which is just like a quick hardcore beatdown song. Kind of reminds me of their earlier stuff. It's definitely a throwback feel to it. It's really short, and it's just a build up into a really powerful breakdown. Still sounds really good. And then we have the song Stories from the Gutter Part 2 featuring E-Town Concrete. The lyrics remind me a lot of old school beatdown, especially when the riff hits to kind of give them more of an emphasis. And then the break before the breakdown comes in, and it's just, it sets you up so perfectly for it. And it's just got this pounding drum, and the breakdown has no breathing room, which separates it from the song, basically, which has so much breathing room in it. And you're just wondering how the breakdown is going to happen, because this whole song just has a lot of stops in it, and the breakdown comes in, it just fills all this space, and it sounds fantastic. The riff and drum passage in the intro of New Money, Old Pain is absolutely amazing, and the droning guitar in the chorus was a really nice touch, as was the dynamic riff in the post-chorus. I was just really hoping that that intro riff would come back. I feel like it would have been so sick. I mean, there's a little bit of something kind of similar in the outro, but not really quite the same thing. And it's probably, honestly, like the best riff on this entire album. But, you know, you can't really win them all. Then we have the song Deathbed Confession featuring Jamie Josta once again. I believe that this song is about living life recklessly. It's got chanty vocals in the chorus, which is kind of a nice change. And the breakdown was a little bit quicker feeling, and it didn't really hit that hard. It definitely, I think it's because the rest of the song was fast. Where in Stories from the Gutter Part 2, the whole song was pretty open sounding and the breakdown filled all that empty space. And I feel like most of the verses in Deathbed Confession kind of feel the same way as the breakdown. And again, just when I was starting to give up hope that the song wasn't going to be that heavy, the outro definitely packs quite the punch. At War with the Gods features Lost, and it starts out with this pounding intro and it opens up quite a bit in the verse. However, that intensity comes back in the chorus as it flows directly back into verse 2. This is probably the most fluid-ish kind of song, as there's not like a whole lot of breaks and it just goes straight into the next thing without any breathing room. The breakdown and bridge features Lost, and honestly, it's not really what I was expecting from him whatsoever. I don't know what I was expecting, but it definitely wasn't this. And the breakdown has this descending feel to it that sounds really good. Then we have my least favorite song on the album, Bonnie and Clyde 05. The groove definitely makes you want to mosh around the room. However, the overuse of in the verses can be quite annoying, especially since I was doing this review, so I listened to it multiple times. The second time through, I was definitely over it. And the lyrics are catchy, but they're also very repetitive, so they get stuck in your head and you're just kind of singing the same thing over and over again, which I wasn't too fond of. Then we have the closing track, Exit Wounds, which features Alex, who I'm not really sure who that is. It starts out with this fat bass line. It gets joined in by this buzzing guitar and vocals. The lyrics touch on depression, and it's just so good, and it's so honest, and it's truthful, and it's a really grim song, basically just saying, like, let him die, in a sense. And there's very little hope in this song, which sums up basically how this entire album feels, where basically living here on Earth is like hell. This is pretty much exactly what I wanted from the band, but at the same time, it's exactly what I expected. It's definitely comparable to Hatebreed, just not as uplifting, I guess you could say. It's got the perfect blend of the beatdown sound without the typical angry, I'm bigger and better than you, mother effer, and I'm gonna beat you up, which becomes very old and overdone very quickly. The only downfall to this is the riffs. There's not really a whole lot there. It's just chugs and breakdowns, which, I mean, it's beatdown and hardcore, so what are you gonna do, you know? But it does kind of sound exactly the same over and over again. It starts to sound really repetitive and redundant since there's not a whole lot of changes. I did enjoy when they added in some like melody and some droning guitar in the background that just makes it feel haunting and gives another layer to the sound. I enjoyed that. I wish they would have done that a little bit more. I'm not sure where this falls in my favorite out of the Welcome to West Coast series that they're doing, but I feel like this is solid. The production on it is fantastic. They're definitely maturing in their songwriting and their lyrics and vocals and everything else, while at the same time still making immature people like me feel really good listening to beatdown music. And also the features helped out quite a bit when breaking up the monotony, especially in the vocals with Jamie Josty. Just sounds so good. So yeah, with all that said, I gotta give Welcome to the West Coast Part 3 by Lionheart a 7.1 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think. Leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of Welcome to the West Coast Part 3. And I'm sure there's not a lot of you who have even heard of this band before, so if you're into hardcore or beatdown with a different style of lyrics, definitely check it out. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know what you would rate it and what your favorite song is. And if you enjoy this review, don't forget to give it a like. If you want to help support me and my channel, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon. I'm like 94 subscribers away from 1,000. And once I reach that 1,000 mark, I'm going to do an in-depth review on how I do my reviews, pretty much. I'm going to talk about my film process, my listening and my writing, everything. I'm going to try and get as in-depth as possible because a lot of people have been wondering how I go about it. And it's going to be a pretty fun video to make. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, you want to see more, please subscribe and ring the bell icon. Doing any of that stuff helps me out tremendously. And I thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to me talk about music. And I hope you have a good rest of your day or night, whenever you happen to be watching this. And I'll talk to you guys next time. I was